to clarify.
Okay, so anybody that's attending via Zoom is on, I can get on. All right, okay. Let's do the roll call of attendance.
Lee,
Present.
Kaufman,
Present.
Igor,
Present.
Christina, absent, Scott,
He's absent, but he's got to come on Zoom, but I don't see him yet.
Margaret. Present. And Bonnie.
Present.
Motion to appoint Jerry to sit in Christina's place.
Second. Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Welcome aboard. Yes, you can vote for yourself. That's okay. That's permitted. Approval of the minutes.
Motion to accept is written.
Second.
Any corrections, errors, or omissions? Roll call on the minutes.
Lee,
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
Igor.
Yes.
Jerry.
I can't vote, I wasn't
Margaret. Yes. And Bonnie.
Yes. Okay, so they're approved. Report of officers and committees. We just had an excavation checklist subcommittee at 4 o'clock. So we have news hot off the press on that.
So we've reported a couple of times already on our work on the excavation and reclamation inspection report. And we had a meeting with one of the excavation pit owners, Rex Calder, who was present during our subcommittee meeting. And he had one comment on the purpose of our report, which he had a concern that the open-ended language of it, that we were able to enter upon the land where we believed that an excavation was being conducted or has been conducted, left it open for us to enter at any given time, and there may be some safety considerations. So we added one sentence to that paragraph stating that notification will be provided in writing to the owner and or operator 7 days in advance of the date of inspection. So that we can be clear and they can be clear when we will be present and help to protect ourselves and themselves against any potential safety issues.
And he was happy with the statement.
Good. The only comment I had, wondering out loud was, what if there's an emergency? Oh my goodness, there's something really going on there. And you don't have 7 days notice, just say, could be anything, fire starts in there, or you get a report of somebody's dumping tires and old refrigerators, or, anything. It could be absolutely any kind of
I think
an
this is,
unusual situation that might cause us to want to look.
I think this is for the excavation reclamation inspection,
Right.
which is an annual inspection. And I think anything that is incidental or of being an emergency is probably outside of the scope of this board.
It would be. I'm just raising that.
Yeah,
I'm just
well, it's-
speaking out loud. Yeah, quite often it would be a health hazard or a safety hazard of a different nature and maybe not related to the operation.
And yeah, it could be a police issue, it could be a fire issue,
Yeah.
it could, something like DES, but I don't think it goes to planning.
Right.
And probably wouldn't be something that planning would act on unilaterally in any case.
In any case.
Right. Yeah.
I just wanted to
Yep.
speak out loud about that. Okay, do we want to approve, this draft to bring to, the meeting next month as like a hearing on it, or I don't know,
Do we need to
I
bring it
don't
forward to another
think
meeting?
we have to. I don't think we have to, but sometimes we do. Bring it to the public, letting them feel like they have a say or an
Well,
input.
since we're
So-
changing the word, some of the wording, maybe we should just be safe and say, yeah, bring it to the next meeting. So I make a move that we bring it to the next meeting for a vote.
Yeah, I don't object to that. I don't know if we have to have a
So-called hearing.
public hearing, but yeah, we can put it as part of our agenda.
Yeah, let's.
Approval of it, and yeah, and if anybody wants to see the draft ahead of time, they certainly welcome
We can
to.
post it on the website, right?
Yeah, let's do all of that. Anytime we can
That's-
keep
that's
the public informed
a
about
good
what we're
idea.
thinking
Yeah.
is a good idea. Why don't we approve this draft to bring forward to the next meeting? And adopt it, let's just say, formally at the next meeting.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
All right,
Do we have to vote on
I
that?
make a motion.
anybody want to make a motion to that effect?
I'll second that.
Okay. And that's what we do with a lot of things, even minutes, we kind of do that. All right, we have a motion and a second, I'm going to do a roll call on the vote.
Lee,
Yes,
Catherine,
Yes.
Igor,
Yes,
Jerry,
Yes,
Scott,
he raised his
Scott.
hand. He said yes, but we couldn't hear him.
Margaret,
Okay,
Yeah.
and Bonnie.
yes.
We can't hear you, Scott.
I know, say yes.
There he is.
Uh-oh, so that's good, and thank you, subcommittee, my goodness, we did a lot of good work.
Kathy, can I make a suggestion that along with the vote on this, that we also schedule the date of the inspections at our next meeting? Because those are typically conducted in September.
Great idea.
Good idea.
Schedule the MRI.
Excuse me, I have to take this call.
Okay. Selectmen's report, you have anything you wanna say, Scott?
Nothing crazy. We're working all the capital improvement plans with the Horizons and that's about it right now. Things are fairly quiet. Tax bills are going. That's it right now. We've got just working on the grants that we're working on right now. We just put in a grant. Well, would go along with what we do here in that we put in a grant for the next 5-year plan for the state highways to try upgrade the lights at the junction of 112 and Route 3, and also to build a sidewalk all the way up to by the town building there and so forth, going up Route 112. Because with the head there, the library there, the campground there, the ice castles there, there's hundreds and hundreds of more people that are gonna be in that, on that stretch, and we're trying to hopefully get a sidewalk included with their next 5-year plan, so.
Good, great, thank you. All right, the floodplain CRS committee report.
Yeah, so, Kristen Rocher, who's the floodplain administrator for the town, and I have been independently reviewing the community rating system documentation and trying to schedule a meeting where we can look at it together. Between the holiday and some other personal stuff, we haven't been able to get our schedules to mesh yet. So unfortunately, we don't have a report for this meeting, but we are still working on
Okay,
getting
good.
the next steps taken, and hopefully
Very
we'll have a report for next month.
Thank you for all that work. The master plan subcommittee, we need to schedule another meeting at some point. I know it's hard in the summer, but rather than just sit around and not make any progress on it, something we're gonna talk about later. I mean, it would be good to keep going. A lot of times you lose momentum over the summer, that's true, but it would be kind of good to work on it somewhat during the summer.
Yeah, and we've improved a couple of other ordinances that we said that we wanted to circle back and take a look at after we've completed the master plan, so it's important for us to get the master plan to include those pieces about environment and so forth that would impact
Right,
subdivision, for example.
so what's everybody's brothers about trying to get together? Who's on that subcommittee? Do you remember?
I think the board
It
was
was
you and
me
Christina.
and Christina.
Forget who the third one was.
Was I there?
Well, you can,
Oh, I
you
think
can
I
join us.
joined the meeting, I don't know if I.
Yeah. You probably were, the only people
Well,
missing.
maybe I won't be because I did this now, and then I have that Main Street thing, so, and I have chamber, so.
It all goes together,
I-
all the time. So you wanna join the group? Igor, Christina and I, and were you on it? Do
I
you wanna
typed
be
up
on
the
it?
draft.
Yes, she did all the work. We met
I
and
got
talked.
most of the
We
work,
met
yeah.
and talked, and you actually put it in some sort of a form for us to, do you
Yeah,
wanna be on the committee?
I was, filling in for Christina.
All right. That's right, because she was out.
If-
All right,
If you need me, I can try to, but I can't guarantee that I can make all of the
All
meetings
right.
for all of the committees.
well, maybe Christina, Igor and I will work along. And when we get in a bind and we need something put into legalese, we can give it to you.
Sounds good.
To put into the draft that you
Yeah.
already get started.
Yeah, or, where it bumps up against the other ordinances and things like that too, then I can step in and help with those kind of fitting the pieces together parts,
Because you're really doing the, the
the big picture
Floodplain.
pieces.
You're really doing some other big projects, so, okay, Igor, Christina, and I will keep working on it, and we'll find, a time, Igor, Christina, and I can consult. But
Yeah.
let's have a goal of
I
working
know
on it between now and the next meeting.
Lee's not in the room, but I know he had some feedback on the draft as well, so
Okay.
we wanna make sure that we get our stuff.
All right, you're right, he had a lot of comments on the
Yeah.
draft. All right. Somehow or other, we'll have a meeting between now and, the next board meeting and, make some progress on it. All right. Other business, the Thornton Planning Board, Kubik Yard LLC hearing on July 18th.
I know he has questions for my attorney who's.
So let's,
on the
yeah,
news.
let's
Can we
wait.
push that?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
he
and
gets
you're
back?
here, maybe. Steve, are you here
Oh, there
about
he
that?
is.
I'm back,
There he
I'm
is.
sorry.
Here to listen.
Okay,
There he is. I can recuse myself then.
Sorry about that.
all right, yep, Catherine will go sit in the audience. Because she's in a butter. To the property,
And the smart people are on the Zoom, so Laura's gonna speak for me.
and, yeah, we don't wanna keep them waiting either, so Lee, are you ready to?
I'm ready,
You're
willing,
ready.
and able, yes, thank
Okay,
you.
all right. So where do we want to begin? First of all, their hearing down in Thornton is, July 18th. I talked to Scott a bit today and, the selectmen haven't really talked about it or taken a position, but they're meeting tomorrow night. So Scott can tell you, but he said, well, let me talk to the selectmen tomorrow night, see what they think. About, whether we are considering it a project of regional impact, yes or no. And the planning board can make that, determination also. We can say that this project is a regional, in our minds, a regional impact project. And the selectmen, obviously, the town of Woodstock wouldn't want us to think one thing and the selectmen to think another thing. So Scott, maybe, do you want to say anything about what you're thinking at this moment?
Sure, I'm just saying from myself, and we did discuss it at the last meeting and didn't really take any votes on anything. But we had talked to our attorney about it, and she feels where we have no zoning and no ordinances to deal with any of those issues, that we really don't have much to go in there and complain about, because they're not interfering with any of our ordinances or rules or anything like that. And though we do own the road, part of the road, we have an agreement with them to maintain the road, which they've done. So, I mean, it may be a regional impact, but I don't know if we have a lot of, to say that we expect them to do something that we wouldn't do in our town is tough, because we have no rules against what they're doing or anything like that, so. that's kind of, I think, the problem we have. Because we don't really, don't really have much to go with.
Well, it makes it hard for Woodstock because we don't have zoning and we don't have site plan review. That's a fact.
Bonnie, did the Board of Selectmen happen to get the letter from Laura? Because if not, I can make sure that that gets to them as well. Because I know that I had only asked Laura to send it to the planning board and I don't.
No,
think
have them,
that-
send it to us too. I'm just gonna shut the door because people.
Okay,
I know we got. I know
yes, yes,
We
and
got,
that was an oversight on my part. I should have informed Laura that we could send it to the Board of Selectmen, but in my head, I was coming here, so.
No, and I certainly sympathize with the situation for sure. It looks awful. From my personal look at it, for sure. But I just don't know, what legal, things we can do to help, in the situation really. Because, we don't have a lot of ordinances or rules of our own or zoning or anything like that to fall back on, so.
So you gonna talk to the other two tomorrow night?
I can, but I think that's what they're gonna say, but I can't say, I can't speak for them.
Can they, is it on your agenda for tomorrow night?
I can try to get it on, I don't think it is, but we'll see.
Like a line item, because I know you have a rule that
Yeah,
if something isn't
It-
on by Friday, it's,
it is not on there right now, but, where it says it's such a time constraint, I think we can probably put it on. But I don't know if it's gonna do a lot of good, so.
is it something you wanna ask the Thornton ZBA for a continuance? Like we did the last time this is the second time we've had a, Thornton Woodstock boundary line issue. Should we ask, Thornton for more time to kind of look into things, Lee?
It's not in front of the ZBA yet.
isn't.
It's in front of the planning board.
Okay,
And so, and the planning board sent us a memo and asked us 2 questions. And I
Yes.
think that's probably, I think we have to hear what the Kath has to say
Yes,
first,
absolutely.
and then see how we think we need to address this.
okay,
But it's not in front of the ZBA yet. And I don't know if that's where it'll end up, but it's in front of, we're talking about that planning board at this point.
it's before, on July
18, I think.
18, it's planning board, not ZBA?
Correct,
Correct.
yes, it's the planning board.
So
Okay.
it's not a super immediate issue. Okay, it is an immediate issue, but not, yeah, okay.
Right.
Do we have time in the process for the selectmen to take an official position one way or the other? I mean, your opinion, folks, does Woodstock have time, maybe to formulate a position?
I think we need to hear what has to be said. I don't think we've heard anything yet.
Okay,
I agree with Lee. I think,
all right,
see what comes out of this hearing and see what happens,
okay. With that note, we can recognize, Catherine, and your attorney is, here.
Yes.
Yes, all right, via Zoom. So certainly, the floor is open
Okay.
to the 2 of you
I-
informing us about anything that has to do with this issue.
Okay, when I was here last month, had this discussion and presented this issue to the board. In the interim, my attorney sent a letter to the Woodstock Planning Board detailing what our complaint is and what the issues are. And would like to present this for any feedback, questions that you have regarding the information that was presented in that letter, so that she can address the questions that you have intelligently and completely based on research that they've done at the firm, as opposed to me trying to figure out what to say. So Laura, I'm going to turn it over to you and hopefully you can address any questions that the board has. And thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And thank you, board, for listening to this.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine, and thank you, members of the planning board, for having me attend via Zoom. My name is Laura Gandia. I'm an attorney with Divine, Millimet and Brands in Manchester, New Hampshire. I did send you out an email that contained a letter that had a lot of information that went back and forth, basically bouncing between Thornton and Woodstock and the interplay between the two municipalities and how it affects this particular project. And I do want to just focus on the letter that was sent to the planning board from Thornton, asking a couple of questions, because I think that's a good starting point to kind of guide us through, so we don't, veer too far off the path at times. And the first question that they ask is, are there any existing facts or regulations of the town of Woodstock that would preclude or affect the proposed site plan? And first of all, that's the first question. And the second question was about completeness. And I think starting with the completeness is probably the most prudent way to begin, because the application, I'm not quite sure what you received from the town of Thornton, but that application that was submitted, in my opinion, is not complete. There was not a site plan submitted at all. There wasn't really any information that would give either municipality, Thornton or Woodstock, the ability to really hone in and understand what's happening. There's no setbacks. There's basically no site plan submitted. So is the application complete? Absolutely no. And with that, it's difficult to move forward, really getting into understanding what the Kubik yard is trying to do, because we don't know. And without that, that makes it very difficult for this board, and I believe the other board, to really determine what is happening. So to answer that question that they're asking you, the application isn't complete. We need a fully engineered site plan that shows the access. It's going to show the line of sight from the site onto Stone Dam Road, which you folks have authority to regulate. We don't have any of that. We don't know where they're putting materials, what type of materials they're putting there. I did reach out to NHDES to ask about some regulations they may have. Their concern was about contaminated soils. Are they bringing in materials from other sites that may be contaminated? We don't know any of that. So without having more detail, it puts both this board and Thornton in a really precarious position to fully weigh in and understand what's happening. So without completeness, the planning board in Thornton does not have jurisdiction to act. And I would recommend that this board tell the other planning board that the application is not complete until you get more information. This board can't really weigh in or have any meaningful discussion about what regulations are coming into play that would concern the town of Woodstock. But if we were to at least touch upon some of the regulations that would come into play, it would be the access. That would be really the most important piece that the town of Woodstock can hang their hat on as far as review. Given the lack of site plan regulations and zoning, you do have subdivision regulations that would kick in and help you with the access to that. And RSA 674-53 is actually a great statute for the town of Woodstock to really hone in and have some input on how this site is going to be developed. Section 4 states, in addition, no plat or plan showing land whose sole street access or sole maintained street access is or is planned to be via a private road or class 5 road, which we have here, located in an adjoining municipality, shall be deemed approved for purposes of this title unless it has been approved by the planning board, which is Woodstock, if any of that adjoining municipality, provided, however, the sole issue which may be addressed or regulated by the adjoining municipality shall be the adequacy of street access and the impact of the proposal upon it. So that section of that statute gives the town of Woodstock the ability to weigh in on street access and what that's going to do to the road. It's my understanding that you do have a Stone Dam Road agreement with the town of Thornton, and it's a gravel road. It is a class 5 road that's being maintained by the town of Woodstock, even though it's going to be providing access to property located in Thornton. And with that, that statute really allows the town of Woodstock to talk about the adequacy of that street access and the impact of the proposal upon it. It's my understanding that this is going to be a contractor yard where you're going to be having big, heavy machinery and trucks coming in and out of that site. That's definitely going to have an impact on the road, on the embankments, on stormwater management, on drainage that the town of Woodstock should be very concerned about. And pursuant to just the agreement, you're responsible to maintain that. So basically, you're going to have a development in the town, an adjoining town, that's going to have a negative fiscal impact upon the town, requiring this town to maintain that road and provide maintenance for big heavy trucks, machinery, and whatever else is coming. And again, I'm being vague because I have to be vague because I'm not quite sure what Kubik Yard is going to do once they're approved. And I did look up Kubik Yard at the Secretary of State's, and I did provide that information to you in my letter, basically saying that it's a construction company. So I don't know what that's going to entail and what that's going to be, but it's something that for the roadway system and your Stone Dam Road agreement with the town of Thornton, that there should be concerns about. And I know there was mentioned about regional impact. And this project is definitely a development of regional impact. If you look at the statute on point, which is RSA 3655, it meets the criteria of regional impact. And what that does, it elevates the town of Woodstock to an abutter. So meaning when they have a planning board hearing, representatives from the town of Woodstock can attend, express concerns. And it also requires the municipality to notify the Regional Planning Commission for Thornton and Woodstock so they can weigh in as well as the status of an abutter. And that's really important. And I would not be dismissive of that, even though you may not have zoning or site plan, you do have subdivision regulations that govern street design and street construction. You are having a proposed project that's going to impact your roadways, and that's going to have an effect on construction and maintenance of that road. So to kind of full circle, the application's not complete. It is a development of regional impact. You do have regulations that you can weigh in upon, as well as the Stone Dam Road Agreement. And you do have that statute that I cited that gives this planning board the ability to opine on the street access and the impact of the proposal upon your streets.
The one issue that I have a little bit of, it wouldn't be before us. It wouldn't fall under our subdivision regulations, that this project wouldn't come before us.
I was wondering
Oh,
because
it won't even come before us in
it-
the first place.
it looks like that the lots were sold without being subdivided in the town of Woodstock.
Yeah.
It was picked up right after they were sold, according to the tax card, new lot created. And I went back and I looked to see,
I don't think it ever was a subdivision here, it wasn't.
Right, so there's-
we didn't
there's
say
two-
yes to it in the first place.
right, so that may be why the attorney is saying something about subdivision regulations. I don't know, because other than that, I'm having a hard time with what our authority would be as well.
Yeah,
But it looks like it was recently subdivided,
how long ago?
2021. So that's pretty recent.
We didn't do a subdivision out there in 2020.
Because it looks like it was at the time when the two lots were sold individually.
Wasn't that
No,
a,
I
thought?
don't-
That
I
was
don't know.
important though, right?
No, I'm just saying, I don't know what our authority is
I don't
with
know,
that.
whether to go back and say, hey, you should have come here, but I don't know what you can do after the fact.
Oh, but Bonnie, those lots that were subdivided were in Thornton, not Woodstock.
Correct, so the
Oh, they're
Woodstock,
Thornton anyway.
well, but
Well,
the
part of it
Woodstock
from
land
Woodstock.
was never subdivided. What a mess.
Yeah, no, seriously, I don't even think we have an application before us, period.
If I could-
Anything to respond to,
But
you know.
I would respectfully disagree on that. And again, I would point the board back to RSA 674-53, Roman numeral 4, that it states that you do have the ability to weigh in, and the sole issue for you to address shall be the adequacy of the street access and the impact of the proposal upon it. So you have that authority. You don't need a particular regulation for that. That's right in state statute. And if that's the only issue that you feel like you can weigh in on, that is probably the most important issue. And typically what I've seen happen in places is, in various municipalities, is they bounce back and forth between their site plan regulations and their subdivision regulations because they're typically intertwined. Unfortunately, for this particular matter, you don't have site plan regulations, but you do have subdivision regulations that govern street access. And even though it's subdivision, municipalities typically take that and they apply it when they're looking at a site plan. So I wouldn't be dissuaded by the fact that it says a subdivision regulations when you're still talking about streets and roads and your ability to have authority over the roads in your town. And again, go right back to 674-53 Roman numeral 4. You have the authority. It's not saying based on any regulation. It is saying your sole issue shall be the adequacy of such street access and the impact of the proposal upon it. It's not saying that you need authority through a particular land use regulation. So I think that's very telling and that's very insightful. And I think that's a great way for you to weigh in on this particular proposal, which I think would have a negative impact on your roadway systems.
So I'm struggling with I'm struggling with the authority of the planning board, and 674-53 Roman numeral 2 says the appropriate administrative officials. Is that the Board of Selectmen or is it the
Yeah.
planning board? And why would you think it's the planning board?
We learned the last one, it was the selectmen,
Yeah, I'm just,
yeah.
but that was for a variance. This is,
Yeah.
this is different.
And I mean, the administrative official, it could be both, but if you go down to 4,
Yeah.
it's talking about no plat or plan shall be deemed approved for the purpose of this title unless it has been approved by the planning boards of all included municipalities.
Okay.
So I do
So-
understand what you're saying about the appropriate administrative. I'm just trying to find that language that you're referring to. So, yeah, and it doesn't define appropriate administrative officials and then joining municipalities. As to the facts of regulations, typically in my experience, that has gone to the planning board because they're the ones who, are aware of the regulations and the facts which would affect the development. I mean, your Board of Selectmen could certainly weigh in and say, we're gonna defer that decision to the planning board. And I think ultimately, you're the best fact finders of those regulations and what's going to come into play when looking at this development. The Board of Selectmen could look at it, but if I were on the Board of Selectmen, I would say, well, we need to have the planning board weigh in on it to understand exactly what's happening.
So considering what your, if indeed we have the authority, and the memo that was sent from Thornton, talks about completeness, the issue is that that it's up to Thornton to determine completeness. They actually have a process by which they, before any public hearing, when there's a site plan, they have a meeting to determine completeness. I actually have, give me a second here. On July 20th of 23, they have a design review for a site plan review. And so they make the determination. They actually have a meeting, which is supposed to be 30 days ahead of a public hearing, as far as I can tell, to determine completeness. That's not up to us. That's up to them to determine completeness. I mean, I looked at the application. This box is missing. I get it, but that's their rules, not ours.
And I agree, but they're asking you to weigh in on that. I mean, that's what the memo is to you. They're asking you, it says, does the Woodstock Planning Board find that the submitted application is complete and that a ruling can be made? And I think if they're bouncing that to you, and I agree 100% that, typically that would be something that would be done by the Thornton Planning Board. But I think they kind of messed up the process. They didn't notify you first. I think they're backpedaling a little bit to kind of regroup. And I think this is an opportunity again for this board to say it's not complete. They've asked. If they've asked, I would answer. They're asking you if it's complete. It absolutely is not complete. We don't even have a site plan. We have no engineered plan to show anything. And I don't think without that application being complete, you can weigh in whether you think you have the authority or not. You still have the ability to weigh in, and you can't do that until you have an engineered site plan, and you don't even have that. So since we can't even get past the first hurdle of completeness, I don't think this board is in a position to really weigh in on the facts or regulations that's required by the statute for this board to opine on, because you don't even have sufficient information. And the standard for completeness is outlined in the statute. It's not met. And without that, you as this board, you can't even get past that. You're not in a position to weigh in pursuant to the statute unless you have that information at hand, and I don't believe you do.
And neither would the select board, depending on, you know, who's making that decision, I guess. I'm thinking
Well,
we should say that we don't feel that you have a complete application. And may take a vote on it. The planning board shouldn't just leave it at that and see where it goes.
Are you proposing that as a motion?
Yes, I
Make
make
a-
a motion that the Woodstock Planning Board feels that Thornton does not have a complete application at this time. It's for us to review.
And we, we have some questions. We obviously are struggling with this. All right, so we have a motion
I can second that motion.
and a second. But we're making a statement that we don't have a good application to even look at and
Right.
decide anything. All right, anybody want to say anything else?
Can I
Anybody?
comment?
Certainly.
I think what may be helpful for the Thornton Planning Board is to let them know what you want and why you think it's not complete. And I think having an engineered site plan would check the boxes that remain vacant or unaccounted for in order to give you the information that you need.
I don't think we should tell Thornton what we think they
How to do
need.
the business, right? We
Yeah.
can dictate Thornton how to do that.
Yeah. Let me think on this for.
I would just rather say we didn't find it complete, period, and not say what's lacking.
I agree.
Yeah, you wanna know something? I think that's correct.
Yeah, I agree as well. We answered the question that's before.
Yeah.
That's correct. That's correct.
Let's just answer the question.
Do we find the application is complete and the ruling can be made? No, we do not.
No.
Correct.
All right, you want to take that roll call?
Lee,
I agree with the motion.
Igor,
Agree?
Jerry,
Agree.
Scott,
Agree.
Margaret,
Agreed.
Bonnie.
Agree.
Now, the first question to address that, are there any facts or existing regulations in the town of Woodstock that would preclude or affect the proposed site plan? And so facts or regulations, they're two different things, right?
Right.
So, the road is narrow and, it's a dirt road.
That's a fact.
That's a fact.
I drove down it the other day. It's a fact.
It's a fact.
I've been there,
The
yeah.
driving surface is 14 feet. It's a fact.
We could say that's a fact.
The regulations, the only thing that I could see was our noise ordinance. And that because he's proposing to have a crusher and a screener, that the noise ordinance might have to be addressed. That's all I could find.
And I think us saying the road is narrow and substandard, whatever words we want to use, is a fact, and it's the same type of conclusion that was arrived at for a prior project that was
It was actually arrived at by the town of Thornton.
by the town of Thornton arrived at the fact that the road was
It was too
Too
narrow
narrow
and not unsubstantial to
unsubstantial.
sustain heavy vehicles.
So,
Yeah.
so that statement has been said before, so that's a fact.
So I think we can answer that way somehow. But, and if you read the noise ordinance, I think if it was to proceed, the noise ordinance would come into play.
But we don't have any evidence. We don't have any facts to substantiate. The level is way high. The F-16's going over.
Yeah,
The
I mean,
racetrack,
okay,
I
so
mean,
you're
you know,
saying that the noise ordinance is not enforceable, is that?
I'm thinking the noise might not.
I think an
exceed-
F-16 going over is different than a grinder running for 9 hours a
or
day.
it could be.
Oh,
And you
yeah.
also have the startling effect, and you also have how irritating it is. You know, it doesn't have to be only loud, it has to be irritating or to disturb your peaceful enjoyment and.
It will do all of those things for sure.
I mean, a hum all day long could.
It literally will vibrate the ground.
This is an excavation, though.
Anyway,
It's not
it's
excavation.
not an excavation. If this was an earth excavation site, oh yeah, we'd be regulating something, but it isn't. I don't believe.
Does processing the debris that they've brought in from other towns, roads, so it has pavement in it and has
That stockpiling.
the stockpiling,
Yeah.
and I know that's
It's not excavating, no.
It's not excavating.
No, they can use it to stockpile stuff.
Mhm.
So I think we can state a fact, in our opinion, a fact that the road is narrow and however we want, what words we want to use.
And how would the mud season come in play? I mean, we may have 2 months mud season and where it's a dirt road, as I understand, right? So now you have mud season for 2 months that the truck would not be allowed on that
Yeah,
road.
no, they're allowed all the time on the road.
Yeah.
So
Should we
does
just
anybody
say
wanna
we
make
feel the
Yes.
road is inadequate and it was, and the town of Thornton Planning Board felt it was inadequate for another business venture that was, gonna happen down further down the road, the Spanos venture? I don't know.
It was actually the ZBA in Thornton that issued the decision on that,
Right,
so. Is that a motion?
yeah, I don't know, I'll make the motion that we feel the road is inadequate and the ZBA in Thornton deemed it inadequate for another commercial operation that was presented to it several years ago, or I don't know how you just say.
It was
In 2009.
2009, yeah,
2009.
2009, it's on record that
Mhm.
the ZBA came to that conclusion.
And can I add?
All right.
Can I add one thing that, and I know it seems like this board is a little bit hesitant to exercise its authority under the subdivision regulations. And again, I would ask you to reconsider that because I do think you have the ability and the authority to act under your subdivision regulations. I just want to point out that your subdivision regulations, section 4.07 says whenever access to the subdivision is required across land in another local government and or development, not a subdivision, development crosses a municipal boundary, the planning board will treat the development as regional impact and will request assurance that access is legally established, roads are adequately improved, a bond has been executed in an amount sufficient to assure construction of the road, and there are no negative impacts on either town. So there's another, golden nugget in your subdivision regulations, which is section 4.07 that talks about development crossing a municipal boundary and concerns about roads being adequately improved.
I personally don't think we can go there, we never have, never in our history, have we?
I don't know if we want to open that can of worms ahead of time. They may come in and say, well, yeah,
we
we'll
haven't.
give you a new road.
We have taken the real classic, conservative, traditional definition of subdivision as subdivision of land.
We have a definition of subdivision
Um,
in our,
In the regulation.
in the
in the
regulation.
regulation. And does it meet that? What?
Well, so that's where,
somebody read it?
that's where I was going with.
Somebody read it, yeah.
So, well, I don't have it ready for, actually, I do have it ready.
Let's read it, because we've always stuck with that to the, I mean, we do not take any jurisdiction over apartment buildings or storage
Let's see.
units or division of buildings.
So
other
subdivision is
entities.
2.35 in here, and it says. Second, keep scrolling here. One more, oh, that's subdivider. Sorry, subdivision. Hold on a second, I just went past it, I gotta go back to the beginning again.
How many times they've asked us to take jurisdiction over other types of provisions, and we haven't, we've always stuck with it.
Subdivision minor, a minor subdivision shall be a division of land into 3 or fewer lots and requiring no new road. Subdivision major, a major subdivision shall be a division of land into 4 or more lots and or a division of land requiring a new road and or a division of land for the purpose of resale.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So that's kind of where I got held up when I was reading the property assessment record for cubic yards for the town of Woodstock, and it says 2021 pickup, new lot created. And I read Miss Andrews' tax card, and hers says previously listed as owner unknown, and it was picked up in 2021. And so should there have been a subdivision before the planning board? And that's the only way I can get any sense of authority that we would have, and I don't know the answer to that. But it clearly was not brought before this board according to our records.
Right.
So is it a subdivision or not? I mean, clearly.
And if it is, according to our definition, it would be a minor.
That's correct.
So that's not impacting the road unless we're saying that it does require a new road, which would then make it a major subdivision.
Right, and that's use-based, right?
Right. So, you know, it would have had to
I don't
come
know.
before the board and we would have had to have made the determination that it required a new road in order to be viable.
And we wouldn't have, you know, in the way that we made decisions on other types of roads. So I mean, I'm not gonna name them, but that's the position we've taken.
In 2021, in the middle of the pandemic, we probably would not have required a new road.
Right.
No,
Anyway, that's the only, I've been struggling with the whole subdivision thing,
Right.
and that's the only wormhole in it that I could find.
we permit like minor subdivisions on class 6 or 5 or dirt roads or something with them around. We've done them around and we've said yes to them. We probably would
Yeah.
have said no on 2 lots on
Unless it-
that
No,
road.
and at that point, it wasn't the same use. At
Yeah.
that point, the property card was the current use of the property card at the time when the purchase was made was residential. Zoned commercial, but the property card stated residential. So it wouldn't have been a subdivision that you would ever have considered a major subdivision that would need a new road to put to residential piece of property. So that wouldn't have made it to your initial board, as far as I'm concerned, with the exception of saying it was a minor subdivision. Until the use changed, but that's an issue for Thornton.
Do our subdivision regulations address use at all? I'm asking because I
No.
can't. And so it doesn't say anything like if, you know, affecting neighbors or peace or anything
Right,
like
yeah,
that.
there's nothing in our subdivision
Master plan,
regulation
nothing.
about after the fact change of use.
Okay, gotcha.
And
So
we
we might wanna
have
look at
mixed
that.
uses everywhere. We have, you know, the auto repair shop next to the, you know, expensive house. We have it all mixed in everywhere, you know. We probably wouldn't have come to that kind of a conclusion then, you know.
So getting back to the first question, so we have that motion, right? From
Yes.
Scott?
Right,
Yes,
so the motion is. If I remember correctly, Scott, the motion was to state that we're aware of the facts of the road being a dirt road, a narrow road, and there being a prior decision from the Thornton ZBA not to proceed with a similar project in the same piece of land.
was it the same?
It wasn't a
one?
similar project, but it
No,
was.
similar
a-
on the same road.
Similar
I wouldn't
road.
say similar, a commercial,
Similar impact on the road.
Yeah, similar road impact.
Heavy
Yeah.
trucks and things.
Scott was talking.
So what was you saying?
no, I agree,
Scott?
that's fine, yep, what you're just
Okay.
saying.
All right, any other questions or additions to the motion? Want to do the roll call? Oh, who's seconded?
I'll second it.
Okay,
So,
Lee,
Agreed.
Igor,
Agree.
Jerry,
Agreed.
Scott,
Great,
Margaret,
agreed.
Bonnie.
agreed. Okay, anything else anybody thinks we should talk about? Concerning this?
Yeah,
or-
the regional impact
The
question.
regional, yeah.
I don't know, and so I just don't know. And, I think maybe, once this gets to Thornton, and they go through their process, maybe they make that decision.
I don't know either, because we hardly ever have taken that position. I mean, with cell towers or almost anything. We have hardly ever, we've never, almost never, exercised that regional impact,
Point of clarification too,
point.
the agreement, the road maintenance agreement is only for winter maintenance.
Right.
Okay, and so Woodstock is still responsible for Woodstock, Thornton's still responsible
Right.
for Thornton, and Thornton plows and sands. It's not for all maintenance, just point of
And that's
clarification.
kind of in exchange for what we do down in Merrill Lake.
Correct,
But if the Woodstock part of this road, Stone Dam Road, really needed a lot of work, it would be Woodstock's responsibility to fix it.
correct, and
Yeah.
the part of the road in question is in both towns.
Yeah.
So it's the exact narrowest part of the road is in both towns, which makes it a little bit dicey.
All right, so the regional impact, do we want to come to any conclusion about that? We don't know, do we just want to say, I mean, it's always best to say no if you're not 100% sure what position you do want to take. I'm not taking any position on it is a statement, is a vote, a statement. We just want to say we don't know.
Can I respectfully suggest that the board tables it until they get the full site plan and information provided that you've requested within your documentation, or
Fair.
after the meeting on the 18th, which might provide more clarity? Just a suggestion. Thank you.
That's reasonable.
I think that's very reasonable.
yep,
Yeah, we're taking no position on that. We're taking, at this point,
It's clear that we don't have enough information
Right.
before us right now to make
Yeah.
any kind of informed decision.
Yeah.
So let's just table a motion.
do we table
No,
it or
there's-
do we, let's
there's
make a
really no-
statement.
Yeah, there's no motion for the regional impact, so, yeah, I mean,
Do we want to vote that we're taking no position on that at this point or something?
until we have the completed
Yeah.
information.
Yeah,
Somebody
Okay,
want to second that thought?
I'll second that thought.
it's a great
Alright.
idea.
And you want to do the roll call?
Lee,
Agreed.
Igor,
Yes.
Jerry,
Agreed.
Scott,
agreed.
Margaret,
Yes.
Bonnie.
Agreed. Okay, anything else? Any other comments or directions? Is anybody going down there on, July 18th?
I am not
think we
available.
Should.
I think so too.
I'll go, I'll go, listen.
I will ruin as much as I can.
I would like to, also make sure that all of this is forwarded off to the selectmen.
Yes, let's make sure, Kathy.
Because they may wanna set
serve
something
both
too.
of us, can you make sure, these, votes are
And
All right, so Kathy's going to make sure you guys have the meeting tomorrow night.
And you got it, you know.
Notes on our position tonight, Scott?
I'll go through it and, under other business, we probably won't be able to take a vote because again, it wasn't on the agenda, but we can, we'll go through it and talk about it. And let them know.
All right.
Can I ask a question? Does the
Sure.
town do you have driveway permits that they would have to apply for? Do you have driveway permit regulations? So if he
Yes.
wanted to have a driveway for this use, does he have to apply for a driveway permit?
If it was coming into Woodstock,
So for his access onto Stone Dam Road, wouldn't that require a driveway permit from the town of Woodstock?
not if he's accessing it in Thornton.
But
He's not.
his access is, so the access from his property is going on to a portion of Stone Dam Road that's in Thornton, not in Woodstock?
That's what I think, but I don't know.
No,
Right,
That's
well, we
not-
don't have a completed site plan, so that's one of the things that we don't know, but if it was access, if he was accessing onto a portion of the road in Woodstock, does Woodstock have driveway permit regulations that he would have to abide by?
I think it comes under the subdivision regulations, I believe.
Right, and that's what I've been saying all along, so I think, again, it goes back to just because it's not in theory, a subdivision, those regulations can still be applied to this project.
Need more information?
We have a building permit process, so anybody applying for a building permit,
Needs a
Well,
driveway permit.
a driveway permit.
I don't think he has a building, I don't think he's, and again, we don't know because we don't have a site plan application.
Okay, so.
That's
It's a
interesting
good,
because
it's something to look at for sure. But I don't
Yeah.
think we have a
It's
driveway,
by the,
I don't
oh,
think
I'm
we have
sorry.
a driveway ordinance per se.
So you don't require like line of sight or site distance
I-
profiles?
I don't want to say that for sure. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think it has to do with width and the distance from the from the boundary, from the
Yeah.
neighbor's
Yeah.
boundary. I think those are the kickers, but I don't remember anything beyond that, but it's worth looking
Yeah,
into.
that's what I remember as well.
If I may.
And again, I know I'm beating a dead horse, but that's all contained in your subdivision regulations, and I know the board seems very cautious about enacting authority under the subdivision regulations. I've seen it in many municipalities where the subdivision regulations flow into the site plan, and it's just this back and forth. I know you don't have site plan, but I do think there's authority there under those subdivision regulations for you folks to act on.
All right, and we'll look into that driveway permit.
Is that a state driveway
Yeah.
permitting process? There is a
If
state
it's a
driveway.
state- State. or
But it's
town
not,
road.
it's not a state highway, so.
No,
No, if he was going onto his onto Route 93, which he's in a butter to,
right.
then they would, he would go down that whole.
We
We
don't
depend
do-
on the state for any of
we don't do
those, you know what I mean, that are, on state, that they're on state highways and so forth, so we make them the regulator on that. But I'm not sure about the town regulations on driveways, and I think they might be in the part of the subdivision regulation.
and just for clarification, the driveway, the front of the driveway is Woodstock. So when he turns off of Stone Dam Road, that he's turning into Woodstock, goes over a chunk of Woodstock and then into Thornton. So the initial part of the driveway is Woodstock.
That's correct.
How long has he been using this driveway?
Scott, I think he installed the driveway right after he built right after he bought the property, which would have been 2021, like summer of 2021.
So it's not like an old driveway that should be grandfathered or anything like that. Okay.
No. There was no access. The access went through Candy Andrews' land where Roland was doing whatever he was doing over there. There was only like one road and there was a big what do you call it? Ditch line.
Well, then that could certainly be part of the facts that we send to Thornton, that he does not have a valid Woodstock driveway permit.
Okay.
Yeah, we can
I mean, that's a
That's a
fact. That could be added to the facts.
Do we want to vote to add that to the facts that we send along?
Yeah,
Good
Yes,
point, very good point.
let's,
point.
that is a good point,
let's put that in.
and something that should be looked at. All right, who makes the motion that we're going to send along the fact that he does not have a driveway permit?
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Seconded.
second, want to vote,
Lee,
Yes,
Igor,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes,
Scott,
Yes.
Margaret.
Yes.
Bonnie.
yes. Okay.
that's help.
Oh,
So any other facts or regulations, that's what they asked for. That we want to send along.
If I could just remind the board of that 674, 53, Roman numeral 4. That talks about the adequacy of street access and the impact of the proposal upon it. That's another area for this board to weigh in on.
$673, what?
674 colon 53 Roman numeral 4, where it talks about the adjoining municipality shall weigh in on the adequacy of such street access and the impact of the proposal upon it. That's the planning
I
board.
think with our first motion where we said that the road, I don't remember the words we used.
It was inadequate.
Inadequate, I
basically.
think that addresses that, doesn't
that
it?
addresses that, yeah. That addresses, it, unless you want us to write in the RS number with that, motion. Do you think we should, indicate that RS? in with
I
that
think
motion?
I think it's important that the town of Thornton understands that you had that regulatory authority to weigh in on that. And where that authority comes from.
Can you read the motion back to us that deals with that?
Let's see, road deemed inadequate. Aware of dirt and narrow road,
Yeah.
similar road impact, deemed inadequate in the past.
You want to put the down reference to the RS code?
What else does it include though?
Well, so so
674.
4, so I
I
can read it to you. No plat or plan showing land or streets in more than 4. No plat or plan showing land or streets in more than one municipality in the state shall be deemed approved for the purpose of this title unless it's been approved by the planning boards in all municipalities in which the planning board has been granted authority over approval of that type of plat or plan. In addition, no plat or plan showing, no plat or plan showing land whose sole street access or sole maintained street access or is planned to be via a private road class 4, 5, or 6 highway in the adjoining municipality should be deemed approved for the purpose of this title. Unless it's been approved by the planning board, if any, of that adjoining municipality, provided, however, that the sole issue which may be addressed or regulated by the adjoining municipality shall be the adequacy of such street access and the impact of the proposal upon it.
Well,
So
There's a lot there.
there is. Now, is that under the subdivision?
This is land affected by municipal boundaries.
And if we weigh in on this, does that take away our ability to weigh in on any of the other issues?
Wasn't there another RSA code that was referenced as well, that talked about the adequacy of the road?
There's something about the bonding of the road or something, if I don't remember which one that is.
The
Well,
bonding
I'm-
was the subdivision regulations that I read, 4.07 spoke about a bond. That was in your subdivision regulations.
Now,
I
that's talking about
Yeah, let's
flats
look
and
at the state
lots.
regulation. I mean, that would just pursuant to RSA, blah, 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 blah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, just make reference to the RSA and that.
Now,
notice.
Yeah,
Lee-
as opposed to singling them out, just reference RSA codes.
Lee, that is addressing plots and lots that are not necessarily associated
Well,
with
there's a lot of
subdivisions.
unlesses and.
That's not under the subdivision chapter. Is it just talking about plots and lots?
It's a plat or plans, and it's also showing, however, the sole issue which may be addressed or regulated by the adjoining municipality shall be the adequacy of such street access and the impact of the proposal on it. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so some of this stuff, it goes around in circles, you know,
Mhm.
but there certainly is an inadequacy in the road, you know, I mean,
And
it's,
an inadequate access,
right,
because the
Because
road's
it's-
inadequate.
well, and there's no driveway permit.
And there's no driveway permit. So I guess I could, so long as that isn't clearly under subdivision, and that's just a general statement, of adequacy of, driveways and, I mean, I guess I could agree with that, so long.
And they specifically
Uh-huh.
call out this, the RSA code that deals with the roads in their counter to when Spanos wanted to put his facilities in 2009. They specifically called out the issues and RSA
Yeah.
code that had to do with the inadequacy
Yeah.
there.
And I think initially on his stuff, they actually said to him, if you wanna upgrade the road.
Yes,
Right.
they said that he could upgrade the
And,
road.
then it would be easier and, that went to pass, but
Mhm.
we don't know why, we can't assume anything,
Yes.
right?
I mean, I think we've got a lot of joint roads. This issue between Woodstock and Lincoln happens at least 3 times. You've got, out in Thornton Gore, you've got Merrill Lake, and you've got Stone Dam. So you can run into this situation where, something that's going on in one town really causes havoc with the road system or other infrastructure you have in the next town. Even though it's not in your town, it can impact. When you have, I think is that the only 2 times that, 3 times that Lincoln Woodstock, not Lincoln Woodstock, Thornton, Woodstock interact like that?
Don't know.
Okay.
Anyway,
I don't know, does anybody want to make a motion on this last point or not?
To motion to add the RS code?
Yeah.
I'll make the motion to add the RS code, but I'll amend first motion to add the RS code.
Second,
Okay. Lee,
agree.
Igor,
agree.
Jerry,
Agreed?
Scott,
Agreed.
Margaret,
Agree.
Bonnie.
Agreed.
And
All
I do
right,
have,
any other messages we want to send along?
I have one last point, and it's kind of, all rolled up in the same one, but offsite improvements. You do have, the ability to talk about offsite improvements. So when developments come in, and again, I understand you don't have site plan regulations, but offsite improvements may be something that this board may want to consider, as well as part of the facts and regulations for this proposed development.
Is that the one where you talk about upgrading the roads, making sure the road is, I think that's a selectman issue. I don't think that's a planning board issue.
I still think it goes to the facts and circumstances. A municipality can require offsite improvements. It's just another way, in theory, maybe of saying the same thing, but it just has a different feel to it. So I'm just putting it out there for the board's consideration that offsite improvements is something else that the board or the Board of Selectmen may want to consider as well.
My initial take on that is this is only one thing. I mean, obviously, if it was several things, you might need better cell tower communication or better pumping station or better something. Traffic controls, or, you know, I mean, if it was gonna have one thing going on, I don't know if it has an off-site impact significantly enough to,
I
Well,
think,
I don't know.
I
if we
think
I don't
that-
know.
I don't know if I have the right to question that because it's in the town of Thornton.
Yeah, well, no, it's in both towns, the road's in both towns.
That's the road.
So is the property,
The property is Thornton.
part of it's in Woodstock.
Part of it
Oh,
is-
is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
so,
okay.
so when you're talking about offsite, I just wanna make sure I understand this. That would be improvements to the road based upon the use of the property?
My
Yes.
initial
Okay,
response to that is without a completed application in front of us, do we have the information?
right, and
We
I,
need to be able to
I don't-
address that.
I don't think we do. Concern would be, of course, the road that we've already addressed, but the guardrails were removed too. And so that's, I'm thinking about things that would be improvements that would be needed for public safety.
Right.
And I don't know if that's us. I think we should wait for the completed application.
Yeah, let's table that one and come back to it.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree.
And I'll just put, so if the board wants to dig in deep on that, that's RSA 674:21J that talks about offsite improvements.
674:21 J.
J as in jump.
Got it. Thank you.
what
You're welcome.
is that? Your. Did you find?
Offsite improvements.
Twenty-one. It's innovative land use controls, 674:21. That's what I have here.
Letter J, 6.
Letter J. What's the paragraph?
Yeah, paragraph.
This paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4.
Paragraph, Roman numeral 5. So
Five.
5J.
I have letter J. The failure to adopt an impact fee ordinance shall not preclude a municipality from requiring developers to pay an exaction for the cost of off-site improvement needs determined by the planning board to be necessary for the occupancy of any portion of a development. For the purpose of the subparagraph, off-site improvements means those improvements that are necessitated by development. That's a long one.
So,
Let's read that one in private and let's come back, let's educate ourselves. It's a whole page paragraph, sorry.
So I think also thinking about getting the completeness of the application, I think it's very important because we can't really determine that. I can tell you that the town of Thornton did require that when the True Lane subdivision was put in, that the road was re-gravelled up to their specification from Merrill Access Road to True Lane, and they made the developer do that as an off-site improvement.
Oh, I can see it coming in if we're saying the road is too narrow and everything else for the trucks and everything. I can see a valid point being made that they have to fix that road so it's adequate for that heavy duty equipment to come across the road. And so I can see making a point that that's a possible point that you can make. That the road has to be updated before we'll say yes to this heavy equipment coming over it on a regular basis. So I don't know if we want to agree to that now or just let it sit. It doesn't do any harm. I mean, you don't exact them if you don't. If you can't get the developer to agree, you know, you might go ahead anyway, but it doesn't do any harm to ask. So long as you reason, but they're only supposed to pay for the impact they exact, not to improve the whole neighborhood for the next 10
Correct.
beyond that.
Well,
They're only supposed to, or pay, or you approve the whole thing, but they only pay 1/10 of the cost because
right,
they're
not a
only one of
betterment
10
or something.
parcels.
Right.
Yeah.
I know, yeah, like I said, the True Lane subdivision, it went from Merrill Access Road to the end of True Lane, which is probably 500 feet. That they had to re-gravel and they made them do some ditch work and I think maybe drainage, but I don't recall if that was part of this thing. I guess, I mean, my opinion, it wouldn't hurt.
Wouldn't hurt. I'm thinking it wouldn't
This
hurt.
mentions highway drainage, sewer and water upgrades.
That's all included in there, sewer, water.
Yeah,
And Thornton did
Right.
say it with George Spanos.
All right, does anybody want to make that motion?
I still think we should see the site plan and get a better idea what's going
yeah,
on.
that's what I would suggest, that
Let's just table
we
it until we
get,
get.
get more information before we get deep into it.
Good idea.
We need to table it. So we get more information.
I think we already did that, right? We already tabled that,
All right, so we're tabling that one? Okay,
yeah.
anything else?
Actually, I think, and refer to the Board of Selectmen as well, because
Yeah,
Right,
and Scott, you can
They may-
consider if that's something you want to raise
Yeah,
as,
I'll fill everyone in tomorrow night.
all right. Anything else? Steve, do you have something to add?
If you're done discussing the item, I would comment, but not until you
Okay,
finish.
not until we're done with the discussion. Any other discussion? All right,
We're done.
Steve. Steve?
I just wanna, for the record, I wanna understand, Scott, are you the ex officio for the select board?
Yes,
Yes,
Could I have a copy of any written correspondence, from the select board regarding this matter? And may I have a copy of any written correspondence to the planning board regarding this matter?
sure. I don't think there's much of anything though. I'm happy to get that for you for sure.
right, certainly.
Is that on our website? Would that be on our website?
Are you, now I
You
know.
could see we had
Thornton-
them, we had them, I think it was at the last meeting, these folks showed up and we discussed it. So that would be, you could watch the meeting or read the minutes of that meeting. As far as.
I'm interested in the written correspondence, regarding this, and could you clarify, I believe this is the third public meeting that you've had discussing this project, is that correct?
No.
As far as-
This is no.
I'm sorry, I'm including Scott. Scott's on the select board. This was, it is my understanding that
If
discussed.
you included the select board meeting, it would be the third, I believe.
Good. It
And it's
was,
my understanding that the select board has had written correspondence regarding this. And that has not been entered into, this dialogue. I just wanted to state that for the record.
Okay,
all right. And certainly, certainly we can forward, our minutes of drafts.
I think what we might have said, and I don't know, we can figure it out. I think we might have said, we don't know if we really had jurisdiction over it because of what the attorney had told us. So. But
All
we'll
right,
do that for you.
sure, we'll, forward along to Thornton, anything that we happen to have.
Thank you for recognizing me. There is some correspondence that you have tonight. Is that correspondence that you're willing to share?
There's a correspondence from the town of Thornton,
Yeah.
and we certainly can share that. There's correspondence from Divine Willamette, and representatives on the, we can certainly share that. Sure, everything we have is public.
Yeah, I just,
Whether you're a resident or everybody, everything we have, we can share with you.
I'm officially requesting.
It's Steve
All right.
Beck. I've been trying to figure out who that handsome guy was all night. Well,
No, it's Steve. Certainly, anything we know or have, we are very transparent here. Obviously, you hear our discussions. We will share with you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Anything else on this topic? All right, and anything you want to, any statement you want to make at this point? All right, thank you. All right,
I'm gonna take my chair back.
yes, and do you have anything more that you guys
No,
want to say?
thank you very much for the time. We really appreciate you taking the time to
And I
go over this.
and I apologize for being late.
No, that's
Laura,
fine.
thank you so much for representing me during this meeting. I really appreciate it.
And thank you, members of the planning board. I appreciate your time and your consideration of all of our points.
You're welcome, thank you. We welcome, as it said on the phone, we welcome people to come to our meetings and express their opinions, and we're open to anything that's remotely on topic. We want to hear from people, so this is wonderful. Update on the Vertex Tower project. Wow, do I have a hot off the press update?
No.
I can hardly wait.
Wait, you know, there's such a thing as picking up the phone. And that didn't work. I got told that, well, I never answer my emails, so I texted instead. And, the project up to on Lost River, Road, they're trying to be considerate of the campers and everything. So they're gonna start in late September and be done in November, and they are doing it this year. It will be done, and people will have access to the service before the year's end.
So he'll have a building permit.
He will, yes, he'll get his building permit, he knows about that, and he'll start working away, and the two names he threw out to me that seems to be clients that he's gonna have on that tower, Verizon and T-Mobile.
Okay.
And he promised it will be done before the end of the year.
That really makes sense of urgency with the snow will be fine.
Yeah. Last year was urgent.
Until it wasn't. Yeah.
And he texted right back with that bit of news,
Good.
so that's good to know. Any other correspondence received by the board?
Yes, we, just this afternoon received an application for
Yes,
an excavation.
So we'll take that up at the next meeting. Good.
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
And you're talking about the con
Yes.
pit, yeah. He got it in, I think he needs a few more things, but he's got time to get it in. He has, until a week from today.
And they're aware of the bond and all that stuff, the
Yep.
changes to
And all
the
that
pricing
stuff.
on that,
Yep,
all right,
yep.
good.
And he's very open to, Bill, this is, Bill Kahn's very open to doing it right and providing, you know, the extra piece. He got it in before tonight, but it does need a little more work, like the bond, like the map, site plan. And we've always let them, if they're not gonna do anything different, absolutely just gonna keep the same program going, they can use the same.
There's no same program though. This is a
What?
new application. He expired
Yes.
and his bond expired.
But I
So
mean-
this is a new application.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But what I mean is, they don't have to go out and get another whole survey done or anything. They just submit the same
As long as
survey.
it's complete.
Oh, yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
gonna be everything's gonna be in there complete. But quite often they do come and ask.
Just want to make sure everybody's treated the same.
Yes, absolutely. We did the excavation regulation.
No, we did the checklist review.
Okay, that's
So-
right, yeah.
So we need, a subcommittee to take the checklist and cross-check it against the regulation and make sure we haven't missed anything.
I'll do it.
Oh,
Well,
great, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right,
Maybe we'll meet at 4 o'clock before the next meeting.
Sure.
We can start. Works for me.
That
and
makes it easy, we don't forget.
Right, exactly.
we have one other
Thanks,
topic, one other topic to bring up, and that is the board's interest in having a discussion with the legal counsel, who is willing to come meet with us next Monday. It can be a public meeting or a non-public meeting. If we are interested in pursuing further land use regulations.
I am not available on Monday.
It could be another time, but, and Scott can add a bit to it,
I think,
There is-
I think Bonnie said Monday, I would think we could have it as, you know, maybe just before our next meeting or something, so it doesn't take up a
all
lot
right,
of night. Well, the idea is, you know, maybe to at least discuss some very, very basic zoning to open us up so we could have some site plan review and things like that, so. She mentioned some towns like Grafton and stuff like that that are very, very simple zoning things. And, you know, maybe we don't even want to look at it, but my thought is maybe we should at least look at it and see what she has to say about it. To give us some at least basic things to work with. Because as Lincoln gets more expensive and it grows like that, we're gonna get the spillover for sure. And, you know, we don't want to control everybody's property, but I don't think that's the idea, but just to maybe have something in the books. I don't know. Maybe everybody doesn't feel that way, you know, but.
I think we're the planners of the town, and I think every so often, I don't know whether it's 5 years, 4 years, or 10, or some other number, we should at least have a discussion on it. And vote, and if the majority vote says we've got all the regulations we need, or we wanna beef this up a little bit, or change something else a little bit, or if we do wanna go for a more, zoning, and you have to,
It's up to the legislative body, right?
and yes, it's up to.
Well, the
legislative body.
bottom line is we can't really do much more with ordinances, is what she's saying. Because her quote is, you can't zone by ordinance. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, zoning doesn't have to be super evil, is what she's saying either. But I mean, at this point, you know, I could be swayed either way, I guess, but I think it might be at least worth looking at, you know, because it's our regulation, what we want to do with it. You know, it doesn't have to be, you know, you can't put a bathroom next to the whatever. So I don't know.
This town has danced around zoning for years and years, so.
We brought forward
The
four
word
drafts.
scares a lot of people in this town.
It
We
does.
brought-
It definitely does. And it rightly should. I mean, it should scare people too, you know. It's something you shouldn't do lightly, I don't think, for sure. But there's
What are we
only,
gonna-
there's only 6 towns in New Hampshire that do not have any type of zoning. We are one of them, you know, so. That could be good, but I don't know. So,
When do you want to have this meeting?
I think we should have a discussion and then decide whether we bring something forward or not. When do you, first of all, do you wanna have that discussion?
It's
With
probably
the attorney?
worthwhile.
Yes.
And I think Scott's idea of having it before a meeting would be great.
Okay,
I think that's a good idea. So maybe we can put our excavation subcommittee on hold and have the lawyer then.
August.
and there's
Excavation in September.
2
Yeah, we're in
ways,
July already, aren't we?
Yeah, I know, right?
yeah,
Yes, agreed.
there's 2 ways to meet with the attorney, Laura said. It can be a non-public meeting, or it can be a public meeting. And, we can just meet as a board with the attorney, or we can open it up, and the public can come and listen in on whatever the, attorney has to say, listen in on the discussion. I'm kind of the mind, being out in the open, that we're talking about this stuff would serve us better than if we have some, secret meetings and
Yeah.
they,
Work
Then it
session kind
gets
of
up.
thing.
yeah.
you know, I think
Well,
it
I'll
should
make
be
a
open
decision.
meeting, you know, for
And I
sure.
think it would behoove us to have the public listen in on our thoughts and discussions. We're not gonna make a decision, we're not
Right.
gonna.
Just
uh,
listening to what she has to say.
just listening to what she has to say. So we'll do the public, workshop, we'll call it, or something.
Yep.
Discussion or something, and before or during the next meeting, we're going to have the, earth excavation thing coming before us, for sure, that'll be
Yeah,
ready.
let's do it before. I think
Okay.
if we do a work session before and then we can just move right into our.
All right.
meeting.
That sounds like a good plan.
Okay, and she probably would be happier with being here at 4 o'clock then.
Do we make a motion for that?
Yeah, let's make
I'll
a,
make a motion.
yeah,
I'll
All right.
second.
So
Alright.
it will be on August meeting, before the August meeting,
Yeah,
right?
Yes.
4 o'clock.
It's 4 o'clock, so
4
August 12th, 4 o'clock.
any other thoughts on it? You want to do a roll call?
Lee,
Yes,
Catherine,
Yes.
Igor,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes,
Margaret,
Yes.
Bonnie.
Yes. Okay, we sure covered a lot tonight. Anything else? Do we have? And public participation, yes. Would you like to say anything else, or anybody on the, Dave Bowden is with us? Dave, do you have anything you want to say?
can I make my favorite motion?
oh, yes.
Oh, yes, you
To
may.
adjourn, yes.
Oh,
Adjourn. Nobody ever says no to that, never, ever, ever. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Been fabulous.